chair of the board, the chair of the governing council, the president and the executive of GIPS, distinguished professionals and members of GIPS, my colleagues in the UN, notably my colleague from UNOPS, and by the way, although we have Charles in common, we're not related. Students, inductees, I'm learning a lot about this process. Media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure really to be at today's event for the inauguration of an induction of new fellows of the Ghana Institute of Procurement and Supply and its AGM. Indeed, you know, when I was invited by Simon to this event, I actually said to myself, are you fit to be able to address this august crowd? Do you know enough? So I came with backup. And as you were reading Mr. MC through the distinguished accolades and achievements of those who are being inducted, I knew I had made the right decision. So I'll leave Ifoma to talk a bit more about kind of the profession itself. I think UNOPS and I gather last year WFP were here. They are probably more of the professionals in this space. But still, nonetheless, I think there are things that I could say that are important here. And over the last year with the President, we have started a number of dialogues with development partners, particularly looking at how to support the process around the bill and to strengthen the Institute. Earlier this year, the UN in Ghana, which is made up of 51 entities of the UN who work here in the country, signed a cooperation framework with Ghana around work that will focus on inclusive economic development, equitable access to service, and durable peace. And within that, a number of key issues that don't actually fit into silos are important across the board. The first is how we finance this business of the Sustainable Development Goals. The second is how we integrate the issues of climate change and the triple planetary crisis. The third relates to the big, important, if you like, shifts in digitalization and the impacts of digitalization, and now we even live in a world of artificial intelligence. The fifth is urbanization. The sixth, I think the fourth is urbanization. The fifth are the issues of ensuring that we work within a human rights framework and ensure that no one is left behind, men, women, particularly young people, persons with disability. And the sixth one is governance, transparency, and accountability. So I'm going to give you just 5 reasons why I think your institute is extremely important for a country who have a bold vision and mission. And the bold vision and mission of Ghana, articulated through the WISER document and Ghana Beyond Aid, talks about a proud nation that is self-reliant, capable of running its own operations, taking care of its own citizens and providing a space for everybody to operate, and indeed one that goes beyond aid to become truly independent. And earlier we all stood to the Ghanaian national anthem, and if you ring an echo to those words, you will understand why that vision stands out on this continent as one of a few that is very clear. Earlier this year, the Sustainable Development Goals had the mid-review summit. And the tail of the tape was not really good. Poverty levels seem to be back at 2005 levels. Hunger continues. Gender equality feels like a mirage that is even disappearing. and only about 40% of the Sustainable Development Goals are on course if we take the snapshot today to be achieved by 2030 unless urgent action is taken. Ghana's own assessment suggests that there is a financing gap of 45 billion a year, US dollars, not Ghana cedi, that is required between now and 2030 to achieve the goals that are set in the Sustainable Development Goals. Aside from economic growth, which is extremely important, two areas have been addressed that will help to achieve those resources, particularly within the context of global financial constraints. The first and the most important is that we'll improve efficiency, effectiveness, reduce wastage, corruption, and loss from the system. The second is that Ghana must increasingly raise and utilize effectively domestic resources to really drive that ambition of self-reliance. Ghana itself, when it went to the summit this summer, identified, the first priority I identified was SDG 16, that in the absence of strong institutions, Ghana will not make it from lower middle income status to middle income status. I think it cannot achieve that without GIPS and this institute. That's reason number one. Reason number two, and in fact it comes from this month, and one of the reasons I'm wearing this. December is full of events that talk about exclusion and inequality. On December the 1st, we celebrated World AIDS Day amidst stockouts and procurement challenges for people who are affected by HIV and AIDS. And those of you who followed the papers recently will know that there have been supply chain issues closely associated with this. On the 2nd of December, we celebrated International Day of Disability. Again, a day that talks about how we effectively include the needs of persons who have a disability. And by Ghana Statistical Services report, we anticipate that these are roughly 15% of all Ghanaians. That would suggest that over 3 million Ghanaians have one form of disability or another. December the 9th, although celebrated today with Shraj, is Anti-Corruption Day globally. And we know that Ghana will not achieve its ambition unless it addresses issues of corruption, not only domestically in Ghana and improve the efficiency and effectiveness of resource delivery, but in an increasingly complex world in which we live in a sub-region where we see massive organized crime, we see galamsey and a lot of illegal activities taking place. Unless we rely on professionals like those out of GIPS, we will not see our way forward. On Monday, we will also celebrate, although it's the 10th on Sunday, Human Rights Day. And the impacts of poor governance, the impacts of a lot of the wastage that happens, the impacts of the financial sides of corruption take oxygen away from ordinary people. We cannot deliver public education effectively. We cannot deliver public health, social protection, roads, all the things that are required to help Ghana to achieve that ambition, thereby impinging on the rights of individuals and their right to be able to aspire to live in a nation where they are free to live their full potential. And as I stand here, this orange color represents the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence and the need to represent and ensure that the largest part of Ghana's population, according to the Office of Statistics, 50.7% of Ghanaians are women, not men, while only 14% of women represent in the parliament. that we must continue to strive for the equality in all sectors. And I'm very pleased to see, Madam, that you are one of the inductees and fellows, and that we have a chair here that represents a growing recognition of the importance and place of women. Please, let's give them a round. The third is that Ghana is facing fiscal challenges. That's just this year, Ghana was able to secure an IMF facility. And unless it implements this well, delivers on all of the parameters, it's unlikely that Ghana will be able to fully recover and hopefully never have to go to the IMF again. And you folks are pretty central in that operation as well. I alluded to the fact that we live in a sub-region that is increasingly unstable, full of conflict, challenges to democracy, challenges to transparency, accountability, and good governance, which are at the core of building the trust that enables a nation to take the speed that it needs to go forward and achieve a big vision like self-reliance and a Ghana beyond aid. I will ultimately yield the floor to more professional colleagues.